Thank you very much. If Kamala Harris gets 4 more years instead of a golden age, America will be condemned to a fate of decline, desperation, and despair. That's where we are right now. Your family finances will be permanently destroyed. Your borders will be gone forever. Tens of millions more illegal aliens will invade our cities and towns. You see what's going on with cities and towns all across America. They're devastated. Medicare and Social Security will buckle and collapse because these people are going on to your Social Security rolls, if you can believe it. They can't speak English. They came here illegally, and they're destroying Social Security. And I will never let it happen. And I'll tell you, I never did let it happen. And I didn't do the rage. You know, they want to do, and they're going to do, no doubt about it, a big an increase in age and wage, because what that means is you're going to go way up in terms of when you qualify. So how would you like to say, oh, wow, I was going to be on Social Security now, but I got to wait another 5-6 years because of Kamala. That's what's going to happen. I have no doubt about it. That's what's going to happen because it's under tremendous pressure. They're signing these people just like they're trying to sign them to vote. Frankly, that's the thing it maybe bothers me more. You know, there's a reason why they let all these people in, because they want to get them to vote. That's the reason. So Wisconsin, if you want to avoid this miserable fate that we talk about for your family and for our country, and then you have to turn out in record numbers. You have to come out in record numbers because she is the worst. And we're going to look at her. We're going to say, Kamala, you have been terrible. You've done a terrible job. You were the worst vice president in history. You shouldn't have even had a chance to run for president. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. The Apprentice. The Apprentice. She wouldn't have won The Apprentice, I guarantee. No, we had much smarter people than that. She wouldn't have won The Apprentice. Starting on day one, we will end inflation and make America affordable again. We'll do that. We've got to bring it down. Now, biggest problem, I mean, outside of, the biggest problem to me is always the nuclear problem, because that's, that supersedes everything. That supersedes inflation. To me, that supersedes everything. But outside of that, the biggest problem we have is that's what's happened with pricing. You can make the same or you can make more, but if things cost 50, 60, 80, 100% more than they did 4 years ago, people that were saving a lot of money are now losing a lot of money. They're taking the money they saved and they're spending it. So we're going to get those prices down. We're going to start with energy. But if Kamala is reelected, one of her very first acts will be to massively raise taxes on all American families. I never saw a person campaign on tax increases. She openly says we're going to campaign on tax increase. And she wants to get rid of the Trump tax cuts, which were the biggest tax cuts in history. And when you add it together, it's the biggest increase in taxes by far in history. And they call her in San Francisco the tax queen because she used to tax people a lot and run the place very badly, obviously. She's already cost the average family $29,000 with rampant inflation. Now she's coming back for more with a plan to raise typical family taxes by $2,600 a year. So on top of all of the costs that you have, they're not going to go down. They're not going to go down under their plan. Under my plan, they're going to plummet, but they're not going to go down. She wants the largest small business tax hike in history, and many of you own small businesses. In history, by far, eliminating the small business pass-through for tens of millions of small businesses. A lot of people don't know what that is. What it means is your business is worthless. She backed a 33% tax hike on U.S. manufacturers and domestic producers, which would mean jobs fleeing and prices skyrocketing for American consumers. You'll start the whole big inflation disaster all over again. And, what you saw the other day is for purposes of politics, they gave you a good decrease in interest rate, but it's okay because you deserve it. The reason they did it, though, is the economy is terrible, and everybody here knows it. The economy is terrible, and that's why they did it. It's probably political, but they probably did the right thing because the economy is absolutely terrible. She wants to drastically raise the death tax. You know what that is? Radically increase the capital gains tax. On the death tax, I have a provision. If you have a small farm or business, you can leave it to your children tax-free. Tax-free. She's getting rid of that. I always say if you don't like your children, don't waste your time applauding. But if you do, does anybody not like their children? No, if you have a small business, you have no estate tax or death tax. And if you have children that you love, that's a big deal. If you have children that you don't care about, you don't want to leave them anything, don't waste your time listening. But to me, I've never had anyone raise their hand. I mean, there must be some people. I've had big crowds. I said, raise your hand if you don't like your children. I think nobody had the courage to raise their hand. But no, it's a tremendous thing. You know, you leave your farm to your children, and before I came along, they'd go out, they'd have to borrow money. It's valuable, but they didn't have cash. And they'd borrow from the bank, and the bank would almost always end up taking it over in a disaster, like a disaster. The parents meant well, and the kids end up losing it because the tax is very substantial. So you don't have that tax to pay. She wants to put that tax back. That's a big deal. And she's pledged to create a brand new wealth confiscation tax on unrealized capital gains, which is one that nobody outside the communist countries, only communist countries think about it, but they don't even do it, which would crash the stock market like in 1929, annihilate the pensions, 401ks, and all of the retirement accounts, and millions of middle-class families and seniors on fixed income would be in tremendous trouble. If you want your incomes to plummet, your net worth to collapse, your tax bills to soar, and your jobs to totally disappear, that doesn't sound too good. Then vote for Kamala, your tax queen. She's a big taxer, and your taxes are going to go through the roof. But if you want Washington bureaucrats to keep their greedy hands out of your pockets and out of your, just leave my money alone. And if you want to have a tremendous history and legacy, and if you want to have a country that's strong and prosperous and great, you're going to vote for Trump, and we'll turn it around very fast. It's not going to be that easy, but we'll turn it around fast. See, we're lucky because underneath our feet we have more liquid gold than any other country. You know, that's always been a big thing. Who has the most energy? We have more energy. We have more oil and gas under our feet than anybody else, more than Russia, more than Saudi Arabia. We go to Venezuela to buy it. It's like they buy it in Venezuela. And they use the strategic reserves. Did you hear the other day? They're the lowest they've been in 50 years because they wanted to keep the oil and gas down for the election. So they've really jeopardized our country because that's meant for war. It's meant for big things, not to keep your prices down a little bit. And it doesn't even matter that much. You lose it so fast because there are so many cars. And it really dissipates it. But they just announced that it's the lowest it's been in many, many decades, and that's really dangerous, actually. We need that for bad times, real bad times. And Kamala's promising the largest tax hikes in American history. Did you ever hear that, Scott, that we are going to give you the largest tax hikes in the history of our country? All my life I've been with I'd like politics, and I've never seen people like this. They announced that they want open borders. They announced that they want men playing in women's sports. And they announced that we're going to give you the biggest tax hikes, not cuts. When I read the story, I thought they made a mistake. I thought it was like somebody did a typo. Cuts instead of hikes. But they are going to deliver you the largest tax hikes in the history of our country. Like 40%, 50% more. She said 70 or 80% is okay. And you're going to be a big beneficiary of that. It's a disaster. But I delivered you the largest tax cuts in American history, larger than even the Reagan tax cuts, as you know. And in my next term, we will give you massive tax cuts for workers, families, and small businesses. We're going to go further. That's one of the reasons we were able to succeed, because we brought taxes down, and those businesses thrived. You know, we did more business. We cut the business tax from 39% to 21%. Everyone said it was impossible. And you'll see now I'm cutting it down to 15%, but only if you make your product in Wisconsin. Only if you make your product in America. How good. I've had these guys from Wall Street, sharp as hell, call me, where the hell did you get that idea? In other words, we're bringing it down to 15. So 21 made us pretty competitive with the rest of the world. We're competing with the world. But 15 makes you really super competitive, but only if you build it here. And then you have something that she copied but hasn't We haven't heard from it since. She can't do it. She would never be able to do it because they have all this legislation pending so that you could go after people with tips. She wanted to go after people with tips. We have the opposite. We will have no tax on tips. No tax on overtime. And no tax on Social Security benefits for our seniors. Oh. Remember that, and she's not doing that. She never will. She never will. She can't do it. You know, remember their promise to, the education was going to get rid of the student loans? That didn't work out too well. And for the students out there, you didn't get it. They talked about it for 3 years. They didn't get it. And just a wasted promise. I just hope everyone knows you're not getting it because they never got it. They said they were going to get it, but I get what we want. I get 100% of what we want. Instead of raising taxes on American manufacturers like this one, we will cut their taxes from 21%, which nobody thought possible, to 15%. So, but only if they make their product here in America and hire American workers for the job. Okay? I think it's great. Good idea, right? And if they don't make their product here, then they will pay a tariff. In other words, if they make their product in another country, a competitor, they're competitors. Right now, I had that all going, and then we had to take care of the COVID situation. We did a great job on COVID, never got the credit for that. I got the credit for military. I got credit for economy. We did a great job on that, and an amazing job on that. Nobody knew what the hell it was. The COVID came in, a gift from China, right? But we did, but we had to take care of that. But we were all set. We already did it with a couple of countries, Japan and China and others. But we'll take in billions and billions of dollars and use that money to reduce tax burdens on hardworking Americans. We're going to use the power of the tariff so that when you open your factory and you start producing and you have your low tax, that China and various other countries, not only China, don't come in and steal your business away from you like they did prior to Trump. And Mexico right now is going to town. You have big auto plants being built by China in Mexico. They think they're going to sell cars, make cars by the millions, and destroy Detroit and South Carolina and lots of other areas that make cars. We're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. We'll put a tariff on those cars of 100 to 200%. We're not going to let them. I don't know if you heard, they're building some of the biggest auto plants in the world right opposite the border. They think they're going to make those cars and put them into our country and pay no tax and drive Detroit out of business. By the way, United Auto Workers, did you see where the Teamsters endorsed Trump? The rank and file, 61%. But the United Auto Workers are at 80% for Trump because they are, let me tell you, they're being sold out by this stupid person they have leading them. Just like I mentioned the Keystone Pipeline, the head of that, I don't know if he's still there, I don't know, the head of the union, we had 50,000 jobs, many of them in this area, from this area, but we had 50,000 jobs of people, all they do is build pipelines. And this guy went along with Biden and he endorsed Biden. And the first thing Biden did is cut the Keystone Pipeline. I had approved it was under construction. We needed it. It was very important. But the rank and file was always for us. And you'll see that a lot. The rank and file wants us. And you have these leaders, if you call them leaders, they're so used, it's almost like by habit or something else. Some other things happen that are very good for them. But they endorse the Democrats. But the people, the workers in this country, they want us. We're going to put them back to work. We're going to have more factories opened here for cars and for other things. And it's a very simple thing to do. And by the way, not so different from what China does. If Elon wants to sell cars into China, they'll say no. But if Elon wants to build cars and sell them to China, they say, come on over, build a plant. We'll even help you build it. We'll finance it. We'll do lots of things. But come over and build your plant in China. India is another example with Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson, we know all about. That was terrible. They're building a massive plant, built it in India, because India charges tremendous tariffs. And I once asked, I said, how do you do in India? Not good. Why? Because we have 152% tariff or something. I said, so you can't sell, right? No, we can't. But they said, if we build over there, we'll be fine. So They actually went over there. They built a massive plant. It's not the way it's supposed to work, but you know what? If they play that game, we have to play that game too. We have to do the same thing. It's a very simple game. We want factories to be built in our country, not in other countries. It's going to happen. It's going to happen very fast. And we'll be able to bring the auto business to where it was 50 years ago. And we're going to bring down your energy costs. You know, your costs are really high here. I don't know what's going on. Oh, that's right. He's not governor anymore. You have a Democrat. I don't know what's going on with energy costs here. Your state's one of the highest energy. We're going to bring down your energy costs from January 20th, the day if we win. That's the day we take office. We all take it together. We're going to bring them down 50% within 12 months, and it will be easy. Easy. We're bringing them down 50% because it's crazy that they're too high. And again, we have more of it. We don't even use it. We don't even go for it. They don't let us take it out environmentally, you know. They spend all their time and energy on the Green New Scam. Do you ever know, though, they don't talk about that anymore. When was the last time you heard about the Green New Scam? They don't talk about it. You know why? Because it doesn't work. They wanted $93 trillion. The ultimate plan was $93 trillion. They wanted to rip down all the buildings in Manhattan, those gorgeous buildings with those big, beautiful windows, and they wanted to rebuild them without windows, because without windows is more energy efficient. Tell somebody you're going to take 40,000 feet of office space, but you have no windows. This is what they want. These people are crazy. They're crazy. Take a look at some of them are actually, you got to see the bathrooms that they project for people. I can't talk to you about it because it's so gross. But basically, water-free bathrooms. Water-free. No water. This is not good. But these people are crazy. But the total for the ultimate package is $93 trillion. You could get China, us, and everybody else on the planet, and you couldn't afford that in 20 years. And you know, they really hurt our country because you can't do anything unless you get the environmental approvals. And I'm an environmentalist. I want clean air and clean water, really clean air. Beyond that, we have to have jobs, and we have to have success, and we have to rebuild our country. Kamala's plan will kill the American dream and make inflation worse than it ever was. My plan will bring back the American dream, but bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. That's what's going to happen. We're going to do it fast.